Welcome to the luncheon edition of news as produced by Triple N for today, Wednesday, 24th August 2022. The luncheon edition comes to you through the auspices of Flow. Coming up in the headlines, locally, United Nations Resident Coordinator pays courtesy visit to Foreign Affairs Minister. Regionally, in Trinidad and Tobago, top police officers said shield our children from gangs and negative influence. Internationally, Bavaria Norwich vows to expand monkeypox vaccine capacity. And let's not forget, we have the latest in sports. Jamaica's Reggae Boys lost to Morocco 3-0. I'll have the details for you when I return.
Northern News Network. First in news, reviews, and interviews.
Now more than ever, Flow is working hard to keep you connected to the things that matter most. Your family, your work, and your favorite entertainment. We are also providing Flow Study free of charge so students can stay connected and up to date with their schoolwork. And because your safety is our highest priority, you can manage your account from the safety of your own home through the MyFlow app. We are here for you, keeping you connected.
Welcome back. I am Don Ezra Francois. Honorable Joseph Andel, Minister with responsibility for Foreign Affairs, Trade and Export Development, during a call with the United Nations Residence Coordinator to Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, Didier Trubac, made it clear that Grenada is prepared to play its part in the promotion and sustainment of global peace and stability. The UN delegation is scheduled to meet with key government officials and stakeholders to discuss various programs and a way forward to form new upcoming projects in which Grenada can benefit. Minister Andel expressed that Grenada is grateful for the United Nations interventions and calls for a solution to the challenges of regional connectivity, as well as the need for equity and access to international concessionary financing.
Small countries like Grenada face very special challenges, and we depend to a very large extent on the interventions of the UN and its various agencies, such as PAHO, for example. And we wish to continue that collaborative road with the UN and its various agencies, as well as with all of our other international partners in the different spheres. We still believe that there is scope for more interventions that will benefit smaller countries such as ours. We believe that the international system has a lot of room for more equity. And one of the paradoxical things that we face is that as we become more developed.
The United Nations coordinator expressed that each program is done based on the need of the country. A financing agenda is top priority for the region at the moment to help reduce vulnerability and provide support to countries.
Stop taking on this issue of financing, and the Secretary General has launched the Beyond GDP agenda under this General Assembly at the request of the Secretary General. The high-level global panel also has been appointed to identify possible methodologies to adopt a multidimensional vulnerability index. And we see our role here really as advocate on behalf of the region as well, regionally, globally. We have done some work also with the Caribbean Development Bank. We have done some work also between the Pacific, Indian Ocean, and the Caribbean, amongst the various UN country team and other resident coordinators' office to create some methodologies and propose options to this high-level panel. So we hope that this agenda could move in the near future.
This ceremonial opening of the first session of the 11th Parliament will take place on Wednesday, 31st August 2022, according to the 22nd August publication of the Gazette, the official publication of the Government of Grenada. The reconvening of Parliament is labelled as Statutory Rules and Orders number 35 of 2022. The publication is volume 40, number 49, and categorized as extraordinary. The ceremonial opening is occurring approximately 9 weeks after a new government was voted into office because of the June 23rd general election. The majority in the lower house or House of Representatives is led by Dickon Mitchell, the leader of the new National Democratic Congress, while the minority is led by Dr. Keith Mitchell, leader of the new National Party. In the lower house, the main activities for the first session will be swearing in or taking the oath of office for each of the 15 members of Parliament. nominating and electing the Speaker and Deputy Speaker of the House, appointments to the various committees and such as the Public Accounts Committee, the Privilege Committee, and the Standing Order Committee. In the upper house or Senate, the main activity for the first session will also be the swearing in and taking oath of office for each of the appointed 13 senators. The members will also nominate and elect a president and deputy president of the Senate. The leader of government business in both houses will also be named. The role of that person is prioritizing the bills and other documents, such as a statutory body's report, that will be laid in the House for debate and/or approval. The main activity or highlight of the ceremonial opening will be the head of state, Governor General Dame Cecile Lagrenade, presenting the traditional throne speech, outlining the policy, strategy, and plans of the government for the upcoming parliament session. This concludes the local segment of the news as produced by Triple N. The sports is up next.
First, fast, and factual. You are totally covered by Triple N.
Now more than ever, Flow is working hard to keep you connected to the things that matter most: your family, your work, and your favorite entertainment. We are also providing Flow Study free of charge so students can stay connected and up to date with their schoolwork. And because your safety is our highest priority, you can manage your account from the safety of your own home through the MyFlow app. We are here for you, keeping you connected.
Good day, sporting fans. In the region, in football, and on the strength, the Jamaica Reggae Boys proved to be no match for World Cup bound Morocco, who cruised to a 3-0 win in the Austria mini football tournament at Ernest Happel Stadium on Tuesday. Although the Jamaicans put together periods of enterprising play, it was the Moroccans who were the most dominant from the outset and looked more likely to take the lead. Ahmad Haboudan ensured that they did take advantage of the early domination in the 33rd minute, slotting the ball past Jamaica custodian Amal Knight at the far post. Despite creating few chances, the Jamaicans continued to remain defensively resolute but were undone by another defensive error in the 73rd minute. Experienced defender Jason Mariappa was forced to bring down a surging Ahmad Haboudan in the penalty area. Mohamed Lahiri slotted the resulting spot kick past Knight to double the lead. Morocco continued to press to increase the lead and finally did so when the Reader Slim was picked out at the post from a deft cross and headed the ball into the back of the net in the 80th minute. The Jamaicans will next be in action against World Cup host Qatar on Friday at 10 a.m. On the international scene, British number 6 Liam Brody renewed his bid to reach the US Open main draw for the first time with a comeback win in his opening qualifying match. Brody, 28, is seeded 25th in the qualifying tournament and won 3-6, 7-6, 7-3, 6-1 against American 20-year-old Murphy Casson on Tuesday. Left-hander Brody reached the third round of the Wimbledon this year. Fellow Briton Jay Clark fell at the first hurdle, beaten 6-4, 6-4 by Slovakian 13th seed Norbert Gombos. 7 other British players are in action on Wednesday as they aim for the first of 3 wins required to reach the main draw. Former British number 1 Heather Watson, who does not have direct entry into a major for the first time since the 2019 US Open, plays Russia's Marina Melnikova. Watson, now ranked 161st in the world, is followed onto court 10 by British number 3 Katie Boulter, who plays France's Fiona Ferro. Jodie Burrage faces American Kathy McNally on court 5 with Lily Miyazaki, Sonia Cartel, Ryan Peniston, and Paul Job also playing. 7 Britons, Emma Raducanu, Cameron Norrie, Dan Evans, Andy Murray, Jack Draper, Harriet Dart, and Kyle Edmund have direct entry into the main draw, which starts at Flushing Meadows on Monday. Continued his impressive preparations for Flushing Meadows by beating Italy's Fabio Fognini 6-2, 4-6, 6-1 at the Winston-Salem Open in North Carolina. Draper, 20, reached the quarterfinals in Montreal this month via upset victories over Stefanos Tsitsipas and Gael Monfils. Former British number 1 Kyle Edmund fell 6-4, 7-6, 7-5 to French 10th seed Benjamin Bonzi in North Carolina, while Harriet Dart was beaten 6-2, 6-4 by Spanish 5th seed Nuria Parizas Diaz in a rain-affected match at the WTA event in Granby, Canada. And that's sports. Thank you for listening.
After this commercial break, international news will be next on this station.
Now more than ever, Flow is working hard to keep you connected to the things that matter most: your family, your work, and your favorite entertainment. We are also providing Flow Study free of charge so students can stay connected and up to date with their schoolwork. And because your safety is our highest priority, you can manage your account from the safety of your own home through the MyFlow app. We are here for you, keeping you connected.
On the international scene, Bavarian Nordic, the maker of the only approved monkeypox vaccine, said it is making every effort to meet high demand for the vaccine around the world. Here are the details.
Bavarian Nordic is making every effort to meet high demand for its monkeypox vaccine around the world. That's what the Danish biotech firm said Wednesday. Bavarian is the only producer of a vaccine approved against monkeypox, but the jab is in short supply. Several countries have stretched out the available doses to make the most of existing supplies. Bavarian CEO Paul Chaplin said the company is working to further expand its manufacturing capacity. Bavarian's facility in Denmark, that was meant to fill and finish existing bulk vaccine doses, was closed for previously planned upgrades. The company said Wednesday it had reopened with expanded capacity. It also said the upgrade had no impact on its ability to supply the vaccine during the first few months of the current outbreak. Bavarian has raised its outlook for this year 6 times since May. Sales of its monkeypox vaccine made up around $15.6 million in the second quarter.
Staying in touch with what happens in the region means you're staying with Triple N. Congratulations on making the perfect choice.
Now more than ever, Flow is working hard to keep you connected to the things that matter most: your family, your work, and your favorite entertainment. We are also providing Flow Study free of charge so students can stay connected and up to date with their schoolwork. And because your safety is our highest priority, you can manage your account from the safety of your own home through the MyFlow app. We are here for you, keeping you connected.
Welcome back to Regional Developments. In Trinidad and Tobago, don't let the gang leaders and other negative influences in our society steal our children. This from Acting Commissioner of Police MacDonald Jacob. We get more in this report.
Acting Commissioner of Police MacDonald Jacob said our broken family system is costing our children their very lives. As he addressed the launch of the National Family Parenting Division Workshop 2022 on Monday, the Commissioner outlined his findings.
In 2021, 986.
Meanwhile, Minister of Social Development and Family Services, Donna Cox, noted in today's society, children find themselves under pressure from many sources.
I sincerely believe that part of redirecting our children's behavior lies in resetting our parental GPS system, which is the primary objective of these parenting workshops.
The parenting workshop has been in existence since 2014. Its aim is to give parents the tools and skills they need to communicate and nurture their children.
This wraps up the luncheon edition of news as produced by Triple N for today, Wednesday, 24th August 2022. I have been your presenter, Don Ezra Francois. Thank you for joining us.
From many distant lands, our forefathers came. some seeking adventure, some bound in chains. Through battles waged and fought, through victory and pain, by test of their courage, our freedom was gained. In homage to those gone before.
Welcome, brothers, welcome, sisters, welcome to our program On Target. And as usual, as soon as we start this program, you could pick up the telephone and give us a call. We never have a subject matter. We speak about anything: politics, religion, socio-economic issues, and any topical issue of the day. We don't make like much rules, but we encourage our callers to let's respect one another, and you have an opportunity to rebut. Perhaps it's a good thing to make your most important point first. And then if you ask me question, I might take the manner in which I answer you. Perhaps it is better you're off the air, because sometimes you ask question that is not yes or no. But we never have a dull moment in Grenada. I spoke on a topic vis-a-vis the situation in Carriacou, and I decided to leave it alone because I realized that the trade union picked it up, and I heard but a chest on it. So I said, let me leave this topic alone. Too much other things to talk about. But then you hear the Attorney General, and I thought it was unacceptable, or statements was unacceptable. You see, the Attorney General is also the Minister of Labor, and perhaps you should hush him out and don't get involved in that, because that matter must come to her if the individuals decide to bring it to the Ministry of Labor. So she'd already prejudiced herself. So the union, I don't know if the union going to bother with these people. So now they make a little talk, but these people may not be paying union dues. So what would happen is sometimes the union just advise them. So if you bring the matter to the Ministry of Labor and the Minister of Labor have to deal with it, should have already, I don't know if perjury or prejudice herself is the correct issue. The National Democratic Congress have a chronic problem with the DNA. Every time they in power, they go after the marginalized. And when you make a statement, so particularly in politics, you must give reasons. You can't just make a statement. So the National Democratic Congress was known for one of the homegrown structural adjustment program in Grenada. Everybody hated it as a masterpiece. I never agree with it. One of the problems with the homegrown structural adjustment program, it targeted the marginalized. They took advantage on the marginalized. They retrenched the workers in Maribo, in the agriculture station, on the estates, etc., etc. You must know Shotty, Lord Dahl. He used to sing Calypso. One of the best NDC I have known. They still retrench him. He had a job in Maribo. They didn't know he was an NDC. He had a job in Maribo, and the job suited him, and he liked it. And he was like a drone in a beehive. He brings balance, a good sense of humor. Everybody liked him. They retrenched him. In 2008, I believe, when the National Democratic Congress won election 11-4, the first thing they did was to go after the elderly. The same people they promised that they would raise the income or pension or whatever name you call it, seed, they would raise the money they get in by $400 to $400. They get rid of some of the people. In my community, in Paraclete, they got rid of 5 people. One of the women is still alive. She is 99 today. And one of the women that they got rid of, she had 14 children and she was blind. They did it with such speed and haste. It seems they had a pre-lease. And they only went after these people because of the children. And these people had used, they was homeborn. So they went after them because of the children. Remember, in 2008, you promised you would not get rid of the Imani program. You tell the people that and you raise their pay and you got rid of them. And I always, take issue with our economists. Because the only time you really need good economists is when you have crisis. It's like when you have a good husband. The only time a woman knows she have a good man is if they have problem in the family. The only time you have a good cricket captain is when there is crisis. So every time the National Democratic Congress comes in the power, the first people they target is the marginalized. John Galt doubt me. He say, make sure that will happen. I say, no, that can't happen this time. They have a new team. They have no reason, they have no axe to grind. Nobody ain't do them wrong. John Galt say you're too optimistic. He's one of my partner, we doesn't agree on nothing. But if you see us, we like husband and wife. We like glue. We together. Particularly when we in the rum shop. Because he's very pessimistic, but he always give me reason and justification why what I'm saying would not work. And he gave me reason and justification how he could work. So I like him. He's like me testing board, like me joking board. When I want to discuss a topic and it is strange, I go to him and argue with him first. So if the Attorney General is addressing the topic, the Attorney General have to have guts. She have to have substance. And if she gets some balls, that good too. And she have to explain why the SRO 2774-1-6 was used. She had to explain that. And I even thought she was, because in one stage, the union used terrorists. Union used strong wording. She terrorists. Everybody using terrorists. There are no freedom fighters again in the world. Terrorists. Everybody's terrorists. If your neighbor kill your fowl, it's terrorism. They used terrorists, and she was on the radio on a program, practically instigating that you could have some suitcase, or that's not the word you use. What's the effect? So I think because of that, I go back on that subject matter, because I know that is a subject matter that is easy to get lost. After Chester speak about it 1-2 times, he ain't bother again. He may not bother again. And the union could forget it if we go to sleep. But I know it's not these workers they want, It's the Imani workers they want. This is only a testing ground to see how people go react. Is the Imani. They have criticized this program so much. And over the last 6-7 years, I've been challenging everybody, NNP, NDC, trade union, because I say this is the best program that has been instituted in Grenada in the last 100 years. And I challenge anyone in Grenada to tell me a better program that has been put in place to address the competitiveness of the young people on the job market. This is the best. We have attacked the program mercilessly. I noticed in the last 5-6 months, even members who were Imani were hesitant, reluctant. They wasn't speaking about the program with conviction anymore because of the bombardment, because of the attack from the NDC, some low blow by the union, some farmers, and anybody who is an enemy of Kit Mitchell. The Attorney General, John Galt, tell me that is not a good selection for Attorney General. I argue with him. I say, give her a chance. You have to give these new people a chance, maybe 6 months to a year for them to unfold the philosophy. He always believed optimistic. He said that is the same individual that say she's an authentic tongue girl. He asked me, why would somebody claim to be an authentic tongue girl? The great-grandmother from St. George's, the grandfather from St. George's. But I remind him what Uncle Gary said. Uncle Gary said, if your grandmother from Grenada, you is a Grenadian. So even if she have one family member from town, she could say she's an authentic tongue girl. He says it's not the same one that say the people greedy and needy. I say, well, that is a slip of the tongue. You tell me no. You remember that journalist that practically begged and pleaded with her to rearrange his statement, take it back. I explain what you mean. She says she did research. By and large, I think that is the word she used. The majority of individuals. So he said this individual is not suited. She go embarrass the government big time. And she started already. How could you be the Attorney General after you give people letters? Remember, we read out the letters, one or two of them, and you quote SRO. And I think maybe these people put on green clothes and go in political meeting, because based upon the SRO 2774 1 to 6, that might be. And you could go in the Google, Google, and honest to Google too. Go and look at the SRO. It could be that the people put on green clothes, because as a public officer, you're not supposed to openly flaunt a political party. You're not supposed to even pray in a political meeting as a public officer. So maybe the people commit a crime in truth. But what's about all the members of the National Democratic Congress that had yellow on them? I mean, come on. If you are the Attorney General and you're going to go after the marginalized, and I promise not to bother with bright people. If you fire bright people, they must grow where you plant them. Senior public officers that are transferred or fired must grow where they plant them. But these are marginalized people. These are cooks, cleaners, people who work in the school. These are the very people, perhaps, who change in the last minute. They might have been wearing green, but they vote for yellow. So how you could be so bitter? I continue to follow some of the NDC social media warriors. It seems they want to drag some people in the street. They're so angry. They're so bitter. You win the election. The olive branch normally is extended by any political party that win the election. Even if it is just a matter of principle that they're going through the motion. It is important when you win election to extend the olive branch to all and sundry. It doesn't mean you won't choose your own people on top. But at least remember, the politics have to function in the communities. Some of the teachers I see on social media, if I was a minister, I would have shudder to have my children going in at school. The way they're bitter, the way they have negatives, the manner in which they're expressing themselves, I would have afraid for them to teach my child. Now, and all this is because the National Democratic Congress have to extend the olive branch. And why do I say you're not doing that? The opposition, Dr. Kit Mitchell, call you, congratulate you, say don't take the exchanges personal. He's, as a senior politician, he should do that. But you had to make the point that you didn't initiate it. You felt it necessary to make the point that you didn't initiate it. I think that is not good. It's not good for your DNA. You see, the National Democratic Congress over the years, and I understand, because you lose elections so bad, on 3 occasions, you lose all the seats. You break a record in the Commonwealth. So that could make you a little bitter. But you have to remember you have a country to run now. So if you don't extend the olive branch, then your groups, your programs in the communities may not be as successful as you want it to be. And the group of people that you have that is so militant, your politicos, your social media warriors, they're going to be looking for vengeance. That is why you prepare a green list. I will hope that the journalists ask the minister, the attorney general, when they made that list. On the 24th of June, you officially win the election. By the 25th of July, you already had a list. You already had a list by the 25th of July, firing people. And there's a lot of individuals that were sent home by word of mouth. And knowing these people as well as I do, They won't bother because they have a little pride. You don't want to rob them of their dignity. They have a little pride. So why is it necessary for the National Democratic Congress to do that? I do hope that the Attorney General going to come back on the radio and explain to people what SRO, and explain, because the majority of the public don't know about that. These are public officers. Even half of them public officers don't even know about that. SRO 2774 1-6 explain under what grounds, what due process given to these people. Did they have an opportunity to defend themselves? The trade union like to say natural justice, but I like to say due process. And I like to make the comparison. During the revolution, 3,000 people were jailed without trial, without charge, and without an opportunity to defend themselves. So we have this thing in our blood in Grenada to be judge, jurors, and executioners. If you don't believe me, go in Grenville Courthouse. I'll go and get the information when they slice broco balls. They ask him, do you know how they castrating a pig? He said, yes. How? You say, well, they cut the balls and they throw some salt out on it. He said, we go castrate you like a pig, but we go add pepper. The courthouse. When I speak, I like to do a little research. Like I don't want you just pick up things what you're hearing from radio, because a number of people distorting the truth on the radio. They're telling lies. So the Attorney General must come back and explain under what category these workers was fired. Because I know these workers is only the beginning, you know. Is the Imani and the same group of people they call road traffic something. These the same people that was brought to court. This is the people they want, you know. So I always ask myself, why is it the National Democratic Congress head so hard? You lose election on 3 occasions. The party win all the seats. After 9 years, you get a blight. And you immediately going back doing the same thing that causing you to lose. And I you know, John Galt tell me from the time the Prince of Hate enveloped the DNA of the NDC, he said they won't change now. So you have to find a way to partition yourself from the Prince of Hate. And you have to have a way to appeal to you political social media warriors and your politicos and tell them, calm down. Because them NNPites is your brothers and sisters. They're in the same community. You have to tell them, calm down. You see, it's an important fact that Grenada is a small country. We would not be able to move this country significantly if we continue to carry political fracture after election. We must be able to discuss the politics like me and John Galt and then go in the rum shop and drink. We must be able to sit down on a table laughing and talking politics. But that would not happen if the political directorates continue to walk around with green lists. And then when you speak, they say, well, in 2013, the NNP transfer permanent secretary. Yes, based upon the Public Service Commission rules and regulation, public officers could be transferred from one place to another of equivalent status. They don't lose money. And any good public officer should grow with a plan. If you're a good worker, you grow with a plan. We're not talking about transferring people. We're talking about firing the poor of the poor. Any economist in Grenada that worked the salt, anyone, ought to know that when you have an economic crisis, a disaster such as one of the worst disasters in the last 100 years, COVID-19, the pandemic, and the economic consequences. People say government must go and invest in infrastructure. Government must make sure that the unemployed, the dignity is not does not deteriorate to the extent that they lose the moral code of ethics. Any sensible economist knows that. So if we had this massive COVID-19 pandemic and the St. George's University grind to a halt and the hotel industry significantly reduced, and the St. George's University was contributing over 20% to the GDP, then obviously government must come in, or ought to come in, or should come in and help the marginalized, the poor, the people that you cannot tax. You don't have to be a rocket science to know that. You don't have to have a degree to know that. Any sensible, average primary school child that has worked hard and in a group knows that. So the policies of the NNP government then, in investing significantly in social programs and fixing road and trying to attract projects that will help people to be employed, is a good one. What the government needs to do is to grow the economy. And as you continue to grow the economy, these people in these little programs, they are social programs. They were created, they were made to help people. They would leave these programs and go and get jobs, and you'll have no need for this program. Otherwise, the violence level in this country is going to rise. Incest, rape, social decadence, prostitution. Some of us might like that. You have more women on the market. And when women on the market, a lot of men was glad. After that, they disturb because their own home join the market too. You hear one of the Calypsonians say, open your business. One of the Calypsonians in Grenada, a top Calypsonian. He said, when you're in crisis, tell them, girl, open your business. The Mighty Sparrow song are like, children go to school and learn well. Next one say, open your business. We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome.
Yeah, Mr. Fair, good afternoon.
Yes, my brother, welcome.
Mr. Fair, you know, like it seems like when a party in opposition, the supporting the union, the victimization. But now they are in government. If it victimization like something good and enticing, they just say about it. Now the same union leaders and the PRO of the Focus Union was on the front line. The government, the party in time at the time was in the opposition. They were there with them. But now the fighting for the same cause while they were in the opposition. But now the government, the union fighting for the same cause for the workers. Now they're saying they have the worst name to call the president of the Public Union and the PRO. Right? I mean, right. And I believe when you do something wrong, you should not say it's not a problem. Because it's not easy. When you take out someone from a bread and butter, remember they have a family. They have a family to take care of. Right? And they have a family, they have people to look after. I have to say it again. You have to treat people good. You have to treat people with care and love. Care and love. Because you cannot accept something when you are in opposition. And when you're in government, the same thing you are accepting and you're fighting for. Now, you see it as not a problem. Right? You talk about them people on contract. Them people on contract, not only after election. There was a contract and you know that, and you're fighting for the right. You're speaking about injustice when the previous government was going, when the previous party was going in the present government. Now you are in government. Right? You're fighting, you're against workers on contract now. Where you're saying to them, make a public name. Right? When they find them, when you stand up for injustice, you have all kind of names to call in the union leader. Why I also want to say the union leader, stand up and fight for the workers' right. Because all workers is important. They pay tax and they show the right to. So they have a blessing.
Yes, Caller, you have to understand that unions is about the wrong and right, is about the workers. Unions is about workers and benefit for the workers and to make sure the workers don't lose pocket. Unions not necessarily interested in productivity. Now, and that is a mistake politicians does make. While a union might be inclined to a political party, and unions in Grenada generally were inclined to GNP and NDC. They don't too like the head of Gary, and they don't too like the head of Kit Mitchell. But it does not mean the union is going to abandon the workers. The union will blackmail government, they will maul government, they will demonstrate against government, they seek their interests. Now, union leaders, workers have fired them too, you know. So if the unions were supportive of NDC, I think what happened, the government embarrassing the union. The union, even if they expect government to get rid of some stalwart NNP, they don't expect government to do it so quick. They expect government to take a few months and weed them out slowly. But the government came with a list, so they embarrassed the union. They put the union in a bad position. So the union must speak out because it's ordinary poor people. And the government break the principle. You see, it's not a question of whether the government is legally correct or wrong, because the government could get rid of the workers and say, I have no more use for you, and I give you 1 month notice. Now, if the government had done that 3-4 months down the road, nobody would not have bothered. But if they won election on the 24th, where was the interaction? Where was the discussion? Where was the due process? Where was the natural justice? By 1 month after, letters prepared and give it to these workers. Now, the union would be embarrassed for the reason they use. They should have asked the union for a reason. They believe that these workers must have wear clothes, insignia, domino, or they attend political meeting, or it is said the gun campaign. Well, a lot of NDC public officers doing that too. Nobody wants to start to post NDC individuals with yellow clothes on media. That is not good. But how the minister could select, you see, if it's in Grenada, it might not bother so much, you know. It's easy for you to get a work. But when these people go for a job and they say the government released them, they ask why the government released you. And they show the letter, and they might be naive enough to go and give an employer, you know. It's SRO 2774-126. When you go and look at it, you see some of the reasons he may not employ this worker. So this is why the government, I think one of the guys always speak about institutional knowledge and strength. You see, it's a bunch of political juvenile. So they have to get time to mature, and they don't understand how the institution work. So they're going to make rudimentary mistakes. So that's why I asked when they was saying during the campaign that they're going to make everybody permanent. I wonder who is the labor advisor? Because a whole bunch of young people, they don't know better. Yes, they could do a good job, but they're going to make some very rudimentary mistakes that could cause problem. So the Attorney General have to sit down and discuss this issue and see how you could do damage control. But they don't want damage control. They want the public to accept that. This caller on the Facebook is speaking to me about, it's a long post. The recognition of Grenadian politicians' salaries are not adequate. It's unanimous on both sides. That issue was raised, say, by Peter David. I thought it was Tobias that raised it, but let it be. I understand in lieu of to make, because of public negative feedback, even from the quarters, $2,000 transportation stipend is now being considered. No, come on. If you go and take a post that you ought to know what was the remuneration, what was the benefit, you sit down and listen to the Prince of Hate tell you that when you turn a politician in Grenada, you win a windfall. Everybody living in hope, but you live in, everybody living in hope, but you live in Happy Hill. They give the impression that the NNP candidates was making a lot of money and wealthy. And they encourage people to go in front of the door and ask them for money. And when one instance, Skeeter encouraged a girl to go and sell juice, do something, don't wait on people, sell juice. They made the Grenada best international liar make all kind of issue. I think they built a house to get the girl. Just to embarrass Skeeter. And it's Skeeter cousin, you know. But Skeeter was afraid they go say she helped she cousin. And this is a normal thing in the community. People will tell the women, turn your hand, girl, turn your hand. Don't wait, don't sit down and wait. Even though you have to get help, turn your hand. It's a common expression in the community. Girls sell juice, sell cake. It's a common expression to encourage people not to solely depend on other people. Even if your man not bringing in enough money, they said don't leave him, turn your hand. Keep some fowls, rest some pig, make sugar cake, make snow ice, sell nuts. If you like to go down the road, sell cigarette in your house. Turn your hand. It's a term that tells you you could make additional income to supplement the income that come into you. So how the National Democratic Congress could face the public and watch them in the eye. I mean, they are guts more than bully to go and take $2,000 for transportation. When the Public Workers Union ask you to raise, I'm sorry for you, yes. You see, the problem is you have to understand how the public service work. The public, if you want to raise your traveling now to $2,000, the Public Workers Union going to ask you to raise the traveling officer to $2,000. I'll give them $1,500. How you going to tell them no? How you going to say no? And this is why we beg, a number of people say the National Democratic Congress should have somebody older people already in the team. They say give them armchair. They get rid of them. They don't want old people. They don't want the old guards. And you have a whole bunch of political juveniles making rudimentary mistakes. You're putting the country at disadvantage. You're slowing down the process. You don't have a problem for money because you meet money in the treasury. But if the economy is not growing, and if you do not obey the instructions of the International Monetary Fund, you could end up in serious problem. One of the biggest challenges in Grenada is bloating the public service. It is natural for the politician when people come to them to try to get a job for them. This is why they develop this strategy of this contract work. So they provide money for people, but they're not in the public service. When the ministers visit the homes, when politicians visit and see people in their home and their condition, they come up with a program to get people to go and help these people in their home. Grenada have the most home for the aged in the Caribbean. And social scientists are asking why. Is it because of economic situation or is it because of selfishness? I think it's selfishness. You see the readiness we have to attack old people. We attacking old people. We 3 old men, old elderly men were stoned in the land. Afraid to go in the land now. In one home in St. Patrick's, more than 12 people died from COVID-19. A man walked out the home. I don't know if they're going to look for him. Last time I said that, somebody tell me the police they had some announcement that they're looking for him. I say, yes, I heard the announcement, but I don't know if they follow it up and look for the man. An elderly man leave the home, everybody forget it. Because of our lack of respect for the older people. Now the National Democratic Congress, behaving true to form, you start to attack the marginalized and the elderly. And I believe you should change. And I speak about it again because I realize that you decide to just discard it. Otherwise, I leave it alone. But the trade unions speak about it. I know how easy it is to abandon this group of people. And they're going to just go home sad. Some of them with tears in their eyes. And say, you see what they do me? You see what they do me in the Soca Monarch? You see what they do me? Yeah. That's all they're going to see. And tears may come from their eyes. And you're asking, why is it in Grenada we seem to have this inner hate? How we could have lined up people against a wall and killed them? Why is it we jailed 3,000 people without charge and without trial? Why is it we were so easy to declare war on children by declaring work to rule? Why? This is a society that we are a Christian society. Simple little issues, we taking harsh action. You know, everybody using the word terrorist, so the union used terrorists. And the minister one time, harsh action, you know, defamation. Everybody jumping up and take harsh actions. And we need voices to tell people to calm down and, you know, treat people right. It's not about you right and I wrong. What is the consequences? It's not that the government can fire the people. The government could fire the people. Give them 1 month notice and fire them. But the fact that the government use SRO, Public Service Rules and Regulation, this is the issue. If you just give them 1 month notice, pay for their holiday, and you let them go, everybody will say, well, it seems that they support NNP, so you're throwing them out. That is understandable. But you use the Public Service Rules and Regulation, and you ought not to get away with it. If you cannot explain it, then you should pull it back and send them the correct letters to sell them. Tell them is NNP, so you're making them go. But you're not supposed to use the Public Service Rules and Regulation. SRO 2774-126. You're not supposed to use that. And the very sad person who seems they use an authentic tongue, girl, you needy and greedy, you against the challenge, not against, but challenge the status of a people in the height of a pandemic, government fight to make work. These people only get a job because of the pandemic and government fighting to make work for them. Because they don't want they don't want more social decadence in the country. And most of them are women. And you're still against it. So I believe, you know, we must have some better explanation. The National Democratic Congress is still young. You're all a whole bunch of political juveniles. So people have to be still tolerant with you all. But these fundamental mistakes, you have to seek better counsel when you intend to do it. And you have to prepare to send out the olive branch and tone down your social media warriors and put the Prince of Hate on hibernation. If you don't do that, then you're going to stand the consequences. You know, we have a call on the line. Yeah, you're going to stand the consequences. And I think this is important. The number to call is 4420175. And remember, you can also WhatsApp us. And we on CRFM, I am Kariku radio station. Yeah. And remember, your contributions are always welcome. Somebody say you're a fair man. All right. The case brought before the court concerning the illegality of traffic wardens by the AG. What is the current status of that today? Caller.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pay.
Yes,
how are you?
Great, man.
I'm calling again from Kariku.
Good.
Mr. Pay, you are so right. The people here, once the bushing program came on stream, the NDC was only electing the old members. Nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, they call a few NNP people. But what they're saying that these are the people, they let them go already. They walk on the road and they let them go. And they let them go without no money. So what they're asking for, some of them said, how can you give me a job and you owe me money? Right? So that, as you say, the pride, the hurt that you asked me to come and do the bushing program when I already had a job working on the road, and you took it away, and you never pay me the rest of my money. Pay me my money, they said, and they want to offer them a job. Come and do the bushing work. We have a space for you. That is not right. If they want to treat people with kindness. You don't do this kind of thing to people. They treat them like dogs. So some of them are very, very object towards that. If you want me to work, pay me back my money. You can't let me go. You owe me my salary, and then you want to employ me just to do a couple of weeks of bushing work. That is not right, because some of them was walking on the road and there was prominence. But once they come in, they take it away. You have a nice day, Mr. Faith. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Yes, scholar. Thank you very much. And you see, this is important. I don't know why the National Democratic members are not learning. That's why you lost election on 3 occasions, all the seats. Every time you win election, you behave bad. You know, when cattle break poll, yeah, this man interfered with me 9 years ago. I have it for him. You got no, you can't do that. And we at this stage, we're calling on you and we're encouraging you to change your modus operandi. You know, you can't do that. You're too bitter. You're full of hate. You just have to follow some of the social media warriors. They win election, they're angry still. They're angry still. So you have to change. You cannot treat people like that. You ought not to. You know, there's no comparison in Grenada. You may speak about people that have been transferred within the public service. They didn't lose pocket. And they didn't lose their job. And even if that was so, you was griping about it. You was complaining about it. So we don't expect you. No one expects you to do the same thing. You have to prepare to work with the salary that you're getting now for about 3 years. For the better part of your period. Work with it. Show Grenadians you prepare to make sacrifice. Show them that you're genuine. Prove to us you're a good politician. Show us you're genuine. You know, this I think is so important. You know, and this would help everybody in the country. Election finished 2 months ago, about 2 months ago. So this conversation shouldn't be taking place still. It is taking place because the National Democratic Congress have a green list. We pointing out that you can't do that. It is not right. You know, somebody said, I said it before, NDC coming for us. We have to start thinking about escaping the forgot history. I think we have a call on the line. Caller, welcome.
Mr. Pay, good evening.
Yes, my brother, welcome.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of what you say while I'm with you for a great amount. But you just say something that lifts my attraction to you.
Which one?
That the present government will have to wait for the next 3 years before an increase in salary could be given.
I honestly believe, because when that issue was raised, the all opposition members remained silent. In addition, they attacked the government mercilessly on the fact that pension, they was given pension. This had serious repercussion on the ground. I hear people on the ground saying they're making a lot of money. They look at the situation. The National Democratic Congress just come in office. They never discussed this issue on the platform. And while they are taking out bread from workers' pocket, they're fighting to put in theirs. Particularly because it's the first experience that they have in politics. I think it is important for them to work with the salary they get in. No. The other government work with it, work with the salary, and let's have the discussion.
people wouldn't. A lot of people wouldn't like.
It doesn't. That's what the program for. You
Yeah,
don't expect people to
like
support you.
because
You're
I am
expressing your
not
views
here-
and opinion.
I am not here to support NMP. And
Go ahead and express your
I
views and
am here
opinion.
to say things that I see, and some people definitely do it against me, but I see. If I have to die in the morning,
Well, people
I-
could read, but don't be no matter, my brother, my brother, my brother, my brother. This thing too simple for you to dead for. Don't be no matter, because dead men don't thing. People is don't be no matter for this thing. We have freedom in Grenada.
Yes,
You could express yourself,
I
and
know, but-
people could rebut you.
Yeah, but
So
people,
make this
people
statement.
look at you when you say things. The fact is, increase of pay is more than demanding at this time. Because the unions have to go back to the bargaining table sooner or later, because the cycle for increase of pay is on this year, and the other government, the NMP government, was making preparation for that. So naturally, the NDC is going to see themselves looking for it. No, I am agreeing that the pay of civil servants in Grenada and other personnel, what you call the lower people, again, a name they call them.
Yeah, well, the lower rank workers, you could say
Yes,
anything like
yes,
that.
minimum wage workers. Minimum wage workers are dying and crying for an increase. If you increase,
Why, Colin? What do you think people take into consideration when they decide to increase pay?
well, a lot of different things.
What
A lot
you
of different
think?
things.
Because you see,
the cost of living,
I beg to disagree with you.
the cost of, the
I
cost
beg
of
to
living.
disagree with you. You see, we have to understand that the tax threshold in Grenada is perhaps lower than a lot of other countries. The social safety net program in Grenada is higher than most countries. And Grenada have electricity, water, telephone, etc. Assistance to school children. Medical health in Grenada is practically free. So while you might go in another country that get a higher pay in terms of quantum, the rent and the other things they have to pay is not like Grenada. So we just jump on this bandwagon and saying increase pay. Productivity is an integral part of it too.
Yes, but Mr. Pierre, the government have signed an agreement with the union that every 3 years they look at increase of pay.
They look at negotiation for salaries.
Negotiation.
They could negotiate downward movement too, you know. And they could negotiate zero. And you know, there was a time they get zero for a year.
Yes, but
and in Barbados they cut salary. And Trinidad they take out COLA.
Negotiate zero.
COLA.
Right?
COLA. You don't remember when they cut salary in Barbados?
I remember that.
And they take out COLA in Trinidad?
Yes.
So every 3 years you go back and negotiate.
Yes, but no union going and negotiate downward.
Every years they got zero for year one.
So I am saying that everybody, every strata of life in Grenada looking for increase at this present time.
All right, okay. Thank you.
And that's why my thing is, I'm not saying that all the factors is not to be taken into consideration, because there might be areas that you could increase and there might be areas that you cannot increase. But every strata of work in Grenada, people are looking for an increase now.
Okay.
Right? And I solidly mean that. People are looking for an increase. It will be a tough thing. I tend to agree with part of what you said. It will be a tough thing to come up with what increase of pay will be.
Color. You know what I think you and I must do? Because you are a regular caller on the program. Let us start to look at what is the salary of different, you do a little research. What is the salary of agriculture workers, secretaries, people who work in supermarket, gas station, kind of stuff. And one day we could have a discussion on it.
All right.
Okay?
All right.
All right, thank you very much.
Good.
Yeah. Yes, you know, I always say to individuals, if you're working with the government of Grenada or any government in the country, and your average salary is $3,000 a month, that's your average salary. You might just start working with for $300 a month. but at some stage you're working for 500. So after 40 years, you retire. Your average salary is $3,000. It was $3,000 a month. Obviously, that is about $1.4–1.5 million. And let us suppose you were able to save 20% of that, $1.4–1.5 million. And if you was able to save 20% of that, maybe like $200,000–300,000. And that's why you see a lot of retired people watch their house and watch their car and put a value on it and their lifestyle. If somebody is very conservative and they invest, they have lands and they invest in other things, you might see them with a more comfortable lifestyle, and you see that they have more discretionary income. If it's a careless person, you might see them with a house and not even a car. A lot of times we jump up and say we're working for too little because we're constantly comparing ourselves with the United States of America. Some of our people in America catching the hell. When they come down in Grenada, they're shocked at the advancement that some of them made. Because while they're in America, they own nothing. When you hear they tell you they have a house, it's portion in an apartment they buy. And some of them have to pay for it till they're dead. And if they become credit worthy, they're not credit worthy. If they are not credit worthy, sometimes they're sleeping in the street. In Grenada, because we have the most land owners in the region, then very few are burdened by paying rent, particularly if you live in rural communities. And even the people who might be paying rent, if they throw them out, they go back by the family members and perhaps could live. I say these things because we sit down and we blame this country so much. We say we ain't working for money and we want to go to greener pastures. And a lot of our children go to greener pastures and get life shock. We talk about contract workers, but our nurses that go to England is on contract. Those that go in United States of America that are working, if they late twice or three times, they could lose their job. And they can't sit too much, Otherwise, you could lose your job. And the holidays that they get sometimes is less and more restriction. I think government is one of the best employer in Grenada. But because government is the biggest employer, there's always pressure on the politician to bloat the public service. And this is why government come up with this elaborate scheme to have contract. So you're not part of the public service. So when they're dealing with the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, it's easier to make the book look good. When the NDC wanted to make the book look good, they fire workers. They retrench the workers in the lower strata. When Mr. Blaze wanted to make the book look good, he retrenched senior workers in the public service. He retrenched those workers. When Kit Mitchell wanted to make the book look good, he did not retrench workers. No workers lost their job, salary was not cut, and he increased social spending. And I agree with that policy. Why do I agree with that policy? You address the books without affecting the majority of people in your community. Secondly, Grenadians don't like to invest. They like to save. So you go after your savings. You go after savings in the bank and you establish a tax threshold that you certain that the people who falls in the lower socioeconomic strata, they have a sponge. They will not bruise on the ground. So that is why Grenada have a strong social safety net program. No, the National Democratic Congress does not necessarily believe in that policy. And that is why every time they come in power, they go after the social safety net program first. And this is one of the differences. And nothing is wrong with the policy, but the consequences of the policy could cause much social decadence. During that period, you will hear from a number of the strong NDC members and the surrogates and the political activists about Itafood people. And you hear they have another term that they use regularly, that you're wasting money on them, you know, and you teach why they don't learn to fish teach them to fish instead of giving them a fish. You always hear these terms from them. Now that they have an opportunity in government again, they don't give you 11 seats this time, they give you 9. Use it to grow the economy. Use it not to disrespect and tarnish the dignity of the less fortunate. You don't want to disturb the social fabric of our society so it will become more decaying. You have more violence, you have more crime. This is what you're going to be the result. Because when you put these people out on the breadline and they don't have income, they still have to live. You know, I think it is so important, and I do believe the National Democratic Congress must be prepared not to interfere with the social safety net program. Stop looking for green blood. In the last week or two, both political parties got political shock. The NDC never expected to win, and the NNP never expected to lose. So that means a lot of people that had green clothes vote for NDC. And since you're not sure, it means that you may be persecuting some of the same people who turn on the ground and vote for you. Remember, you promised these people you would make them permanent. No senior public officer believes you. No sensible public officer believes you. But the people on contract, the people whose jobs are temporary, supernumerary, temporary, permanent, they believe you. And the change in the numbers from side to side may well be because of the promise you made that you're going to make them permanent. And then you're going to make certain that they are not victimized. And the fact that you are a new team and a new leader, they give you a blight. Don't throw it away. You know, I really don't want you to throw it away. Because if you do, you might suffer the same fate in the next 5 years. You know, I plead with you, don't do that. It's not good for your record, you know. And we on to the end of our program, and we always very happy with the contributions made by on Facebook and social media. And we want to thank you very much and be back with you tomorrow when you have another opportunity to punch.
Through battles waged and fought, through victory and pain, by test of their courage, our freedom was gained.